of strengthpowerspeed.com. I'm going to be doing a webinar presentation on the importance of high-speed sprinting in team sport performance and injury prevention for rugbystrengthcoach.com. I'd just like to thank Kier for having me involved, and hopefully I can provide some useful information to coaches out there. I think people find it interesting that I'll say high-speed sprinting, which seems redundant, but everybody's definition of sprinting changes depending on who you talk to, and my definition is obviously different than others, and I think you have to be running it near your best time, your highest velocity, and it doesn't have to be all the time, but you have to get there once in a while to make sure that you preserve those qualities or advance those qualities. So we're going to be talking a lot about that and why I think sprinting is absolutely required for high performance in a lot of team sports, field sports, court-based sports, but I don't think it's necessarily being addressed to the point where it needs to be. So we'll talk about that. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me. I'll provide my email address at the end of the presentation. You can get me on Twitter at Derek M. Hansen. And so I do my best to be accessible as possible. But let's get on to what I'm going to talk about. And when I talk about anything sprinting, electrical stimulation, rehab, whatever it may be, I always talk about a lot of the same concepts and relate it back. So we talk about high intensity versus low intensity, and what the impacts are and what the amounts are and how you divide it up, and having good definitions for high and low. What does high intensity mean? What is low intensity? Because some people think high intensity is, doing some sort of extreme aerobic workout, but as far as my definition goes, it's that would be a low intensity workout. So defining those things is very important when moving the conversation forward. Understanding the difference between general adaptations and specific adaptations, and how you use both of those things to your advantage. Talking about peripheral versus central, so central nervous system versus the peripheral system, and understanding that we have to, again, work both of these things, and some things that we think are central may be peripheral, and some things that we think are peripheral may affect the central nervous system. So we have to distinguish between those two areas and understand how to use them to our advantage. I've been thinking more about afferent effects with regard to the brain and the nervous system, and specifically with my work with electrical stimulation, and how it affects my treatment protocols, and how I use it to my advantage, and how I'm always keeping, this discussion of what are the effects on the nervous system and the brain when we do something, whether it's work, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's electrical therapy, and what is my brain sensing, what is going towards my brain, and what is my brain sending back. And this messaging is very important to me, particularly when it relates to sprinting. And then this idea of signal versus noise. Are we actually producing signal? Or are we just producing background noise? And in both cases, again, like we talk about with all these things, both are important. It's just, what are the amounts that we're engaging or we're producing? And I think that's very important. If we try to produce too much signal, it ends up becoming just background noise because we just can't sustain that signal. And vice versa, if we don't have any noise in the system, we don't have a platform or a foundation upon which to build signal. So those are things I talk about. Hopefully you understand. I'm trying to keep it. I like these general themes, and I think if we don't operate within general themes, it's easy to get very lost. So let's move forward on that.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.